Alright guys, Dokkan time, and today we are going to be doing a full on all stages for the Memorable Battle movie edition. And I'm going to be doing all of them with all the missions getting done at the same time, with Android 21 of course, because that's the way I gotta roll. I gotta get 21 to be in every single event and get everything accomplished. Now you'll notice some randomness over here on the right side of the screen. These are all of the builds, my personal builds, for each one of my units that I used in each one of these fights. So, if you're ever wondering how any of these units like dodged or crit or additionaled or how they performed during the video, you can go ahead and reference to the right side of the screen where these are how my units are specifically built. Doesn't mean that's the way they should be built. Just be aware of that. Just be aware of that. So, we'll get started with the first memorable battle stage versus Super Saiyan Goku. I did pre-record this. We did choose to bring kind of a mixture of a team. For all these stages, I attempted to use multitudes of different units. I tried to use double 21 on most of the stages. Some of the stages I was only able to do with just 21 as my leader, just one. But we did try our best. I'd say we did pretty well. So starting off on the fight here, on this team, we did go ahead and rock majority of obviously a Majin Power team with 21. We got very lucky because this Int Fat Boo right here and the Tech Exchange Boo are the only, I think they're the only actual Majin Buu Saga units on the team. Yeah, aside from Kid Buu, they are the only actual Majin Buu Saga units on the team. So we almost got screwed on both of their buffs right there. It was very tricky. But yeah. So we did take a pretty hard super there right off the bat. Goku does hit pretty hard. Goku hits pretty hard in all honesty. I wouldn't say he hits like a truck, but obviously, you know, that was like 70% damage reduction right there, which is quite a bit. It's a lot of damage that he still took right there, so that is something to keep in mind. 21, my 21, I specifically use her more as a dodge tank for the most part. I very rarely will choose to actually use her in the sense of using her transformation. I will use her transformation in certain fights, but I don't use them all of the time. So primarily with 21, I usually float her off and hope that she dodges in the final slot. That's why she has primarily a dodge build, but she also has a crit build to do some damage when she has all of her potential additionals going off. Mind you, she doesn't have any crit once she transforms. So she only has attacks effective against all types. And you know how I feel about attacks effective against all types. I don't like it. I don't like attacks effective against all types. I think it's terrible. So I gave her crit, and that's just me. Doesn't mean you should build 21 with crit, though. As you can see, our 55% cell max barely took some damage right there. We barely survived. We were pretty lucky. I think if we didn't have Bulma on the team, I think we really would have died right there. This isn't like a hard fight, but I don't feel like it's an easy fight necessarily either, unless you're just bringing a team that's specifically good against a Goku. You know, you can bring much better teams than this. I want to use 21. I want to watch 21 work. I want to see her kneel and beat the crap out of an enemy, or just like that. So, moving on to this, I think we're about halfway through Goku's health here. Getting some heals finally going off. And there's a lot of heals we can benefit from Majin Power. So Kid Buu we can float off here. So the Exchange Buu is built a little wonky, I will say. The Exchange Buu is built a little wonky. And I primarily use Exchange Buu for damage and tanking. And I think that Exchange Buu tanks well enough that I don't feel the need to give the unit full dodge. So if you spy on the right side that he actually has, you know, some dodge here and there, or no dodge at all, and he's just fully additionaled and critted out. It's mostly pertaining to the fact that I want him to do damage when he hits his Super Boo state. And that's what some of these builds are. Some of these builds you'll see on the right side of the screen, they're not necessarily the best way to build these units. They're just the way that I built the units, and I use them in a specific manner and expect a certain amount from them based on their build. It's just how I use them. So like I said, for Super Boo, I mainly went additional and then put the rest into crit because I really want to do damage with him, because he can do some very good damage. And I think he tanks well enough that I don't think it's mandatory to go full dodge with Super Boo. There's been very few times where I've actually died because of Exchange Boo. Majority of the time I die, it's because another unit took too much damage and he tanked, but he couldn't tank all of it, you know? CaiSamaX is pretty decent. I mean, this isn't obviously his best case scenario of a team. We get the kill. I have PTSD from this animation. Just every time I see it start, I get just like, I get a little bit of a fright inside of me. But anyways, we got through the first fight here. No items, with full rainbow team as well. I tried to do that for every single one of these teams. I went with a full rainbow team and no iteming it. And we managed to get it done. It is doable. It's not it's not super hard, but it's not super easy either. So I'm just going to go ahead and change to the next stage fight. Let me get that pulled up right here. So we should be going on to Cooler's final form, and we're going to be using pretty much the same team here. We're going to be using a Friend 21 right here. I'm not sure. 55%, Link level 10. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. So I think this is probably the easiest stage if I remember right. I don't remember this fight being too difficult. Honestly, up until the last two stages, I ignored the screen. Other than when I saw 21 on the screen, I'd look. But otherwise, most of these fights weren't too difficult. I mean, we're about to literally just, I think this is only like a 4-minute fight. It's not very difficult. I think I'm just gonna watch 21 just sit here and do damage to him. I mean, we're gonna triple and quad super, and it's just she doesn't do a lot of damage. This is the 55% friend, doesn't have crit built in. I mean, even at only 3 million attack stat, still did enough with type advantage to just knock out a bar from double supering. So I mean, you can tell that Cooler isn't that strong. Yeah, we're just slowly, this 55%, this 55% 21 friend is putting in some work. She's putting in some work. But as far as Cooler goes, Cooler only has 450k normals. He's got 1.5 million supers, or 1.6 million supers, and he greatly raises his attack when he supers. So, I mean, aside from his damage scaling going up for the turn after he supers, he actually doesn't do a lot of damage. He's actually very easy by comparison-wise. That 12 key, man, that 12 key gets me. That 12 key from CaiSamaX really scares the crap out of me. It's like some Jeepers Creepers level. So we're about to get hit with a 2 mil super right here. I think we're going to take quite a bit of damage. Yeah, 540. That was a 2 mil super because he greatly raises attack, and he already does 1.6. So, I mean, adding on the multiplier to the 50%, yeah, he's already almost close to 2 million damage. I don't think it's exactly 2 million, but CaiSamaX tanked quite a bit. He tanked quite a bit. I'm not mad about my 55% CaiSamaX. I think he put in his work. He did his job. We did a good amount of damage. We took out, 6 bars out of Cooler in 1 turn? That was pretty decent. I think right here I got a little scared, and I was like, you know what? I can't afford for the tech exchange boot to not, to die. I can't afford for him to actually get killed right there. So I just said, screw it. Threw Int Fat Boo into the front to get the revive off. And I will say my intelligence Fat Boo is only 55%. That's all he is. He's only 55%. He's not amazing, unfortunately. I feel like the Int Fat Boo really does have a huge curve on how good he is, based on your dupes. And I just felt like with dupes, he just wasn't all that impressive. He really wasn't all that impressive without dupes. So I primarily use Fat Boo as just like, he's kind of like a sacrificial goat. He's dragon fodder. I sacrifice him to revive to the next turn with full health, you know? And once again, freaking CaiSamaX tanking with 500k damage right there. And just, yeah, I think he's going to completely just obliterate freaking Final Form Cooler right here. Yep. Yep. One more. There it is. One more. And PTSD. I call this the PTSD attack. But anyways, we finally got through that one. Definitely didn't... It felt longer than 4 minutes. I swear, every single time I saw a CaiSamaX additional super, time freezes for me. Time freezes for me every time I see that. So yeah, we got through that one. Rainbow team. No items used. Thank you, Matthew, for your Android 21. I sent him a friend request. But let's go ahead and move on to the next stage. Alright, and we're going to move on to the third stage, which is versus Goku and Vegeta. This fight, we're going to be bringing the Android 21 from Bringer, I believe. Either Bringer or Blazer, one of the two. I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to take along. We chose Blazer's 55%. So in this fight, Goku and Vegeta can actually be a little difficult. I'm not going to lie, but it can be a little problematic. 2.2 million supers, 630k normals. After they get hit 7 times, they get an additional attack and defense plus 30%, just like their actual unit, which is kind of funny if you didn't know that. Yeah, if you didn't know, this unit, just like its actual card in the game, if it gets hit 7 times, it gets a buff, as if it was like the exchange buff, but the morale boost, I mean, but it's not. But either way, I was bold and put CaiSamaX in slot 1 there. I didn't really know how he would perform. As you can see, it was a very dangerous bet to be throwing him there, because if we had got super attacked, we probably would have died. 100% probably would have died. I was like, CaiSamaX can tank, right? No. But oh, I think this was the failed run. I just realized that. I apologize. I apologize. I think this was the failed run that I pulled up here. We actually did have several tries on a couple of these. I believe this one only took a couple of shots here, but let's see. I think we got revived right here. This is only like 3 minutes, unless we magically kill. I'm trying to remember if this was a failed run or not. All right, so Majimu's gonna get killed right here. Like I said, I use the Int Fat Boo as a scapegoat. And you can see we took a lot of damage. We did take more damage than they can actually output, but we only took more damage because they were a super type unit. So, I think they also get a buff after supering. I think we did hit them 7 times too, so they already had an additional attack buff. So the additional attack buff plus being a super type, yeah, Fat Boo definitely took some extra damage. Alright. So, I don't think we kill right here. There's no way. I'm already halfway through. I don't even remember how this fight goes. I don't even remember how this fight went. I just hit record with all these teams, and I just went at them casually. I didn't really think about it too much. All right, CaiSamaX, come on. Let's see what CaiSamaX has got. Obviously, I should have put Super Boo right up there, but I chose not to because he doesn't have the extra damage reduction right now. And because he's missing so much damage reduction without having a Majin Buu Saga unit on the attacking turn, he would have got smoked. Oh yeah, smoked is a term. But CaiSamaX did a good amount of damage right there and tanked decently well, in all honesty. And Bulma's actually holding up very well for how old... I mean, she's only a year old. She's going on about almost a year and a half now. But she's still holding up pretty dang well, even in these longer fights. And I think right here, you'll see the damage. You'll probably see... I don't remember if we'll see damage or not, or if he just dodges. No, he just dodged. Okay, we were lucky. So right here... Actually, yeah, I guess we just finished him off. I thought this was the failed run, but no. We just eat him. Eat that cookie. And just kind of go off right here. I think we killed this turn as well. Yeah, I think we go off this turn. Yeah, we kill right here. I'm pretty confident that Kid Buu just kills right here. We're gonna do a little bit of damage because we revived with Fat Buu, so he does get his revive buff, which I think does give him a little bit of extra attack, but it's mainly the guard that you wanted out of the revive. I think it's the guard and extra defense, so not too bad of damage for a 55%. Honestly, 55%, not too bad. Yeah, Fat Buu is one of those units where I don't feel like he needs to have dodge. I think you want him to get hit. I really do. I feel like you want Fat Buu to get hit so that he can, well, he can become dragon fodder. He can be sacrificed. And Kid Buu finishes it off, yeah. This is probably one of the least performing fights of the 21 runs. But I think we kind of got lucky a little bit. Yeah, I think we got a little bit lucky because this stage hits pretty hard. Hits pretty hard, not gonna lie. It's pretty freaking hard. So with that, thank you, Blazer, for letting me use your 21 there. We got that stage done in 5 minutes. No items. And yeah, let's move on to the 4th stage, right? Yeah, the 4th stage. Okay, and we're gonna move on to the 4th stage versus Metal Cooler. So I don't remember Metal Cooler being too difficult. We bring Celtic Lynx 69% 21 with us on this run. I think Metal Cooler is a little bit gimmicky, if I remember his kit correctly. He's a little gimmicky as far as his boss battle goes. So if he gets hit 10 times, he'll have a total attack buff of 50%. And if for each turn that is passed, he actually reduces your defense by 10%. So he's really kind of rough in that sense. Like the longer the fight goes on, the worse it can get because he'll lower your defense by 10% after each turn has passed. So by turn 6 specifically, you will have 50% less defense, and it will show. I think I remember having a scare, but overall, Bulma dodge. Yeah, you know, I think we do pretty well here. Wee. You can see 21 lowering his defense a little bit there. I do believe you cannot lower his attack, but you can lower his defense. So lowering defense units might not be the worst thing to be doing here. It could get you through the fight a lot faster. His defense is pretty high. I believe he has 1.2 million defense, which is pretty absurd, especially since he has like 60% damage reduction. So, I mean, you can do very little damage against this guy. You can do very little damage. Obviously, this isn't a good example right here with Fat Buu because he has type disadvantage, but still. So now that a turn has passed, we actually have 10% less defense right now. So that is something to remember. Once again, he does lower your defense. It was a mistake to keep him right there. I think the only reason I kept Exchange Buu there was because I I floated off the int Fat Boo, so I knew that they would be on rotation together. And because I knew they were going to be on rotation together, I knew it would be fine to keep them there for the next appearance. But as of right now, yeah, he's kind of a liability. But with CaiSamaX lowering his defense and doing some good damage, I think it was okay. Let's see how much damage Fat Boo takes here. Ooh, yeah. We're going to take some damage. Let's see how this goes. Woo! So this is one of those instances where my build for them being primarily additional and crit probably would have been better spent on giving him a little dodge. Or even giving him a defense item. A defense item could have helped. Not dramatically, but it definitely could have helped. So we survived by the skin of our teeth there. The only reason we survived, I believe, is because we were fighting extreme versus extreme. And he does still have like 30 or 40% damage reduction naturally. So that was the only reason we did live that at all. Plus, you know, post-super, so... Alright, now we're on to the third turn, so we have lost a total of 20% defense thus far. And obviously we've hit him several times, so he's fully built up on his damage. He's been attacked more than 5 times. So he has an extra 50% damage, so his supers are doing more, I would say close to 2 mil, and his normals are doing close to maybe like 700k, maybe 800k normals. That might be a little excessive on that one, but yeah, we're looking at close to 2 mil supers right now. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I think I just realized as I'm watching my own footage here, I think the damage goes up on him per turn. So he loses the buff every single turn. Because we've hit him like several times now, and he's still getting that attack message buff. Like, Celtic Link's freaking Android 21 right here just totally attacked him, quad supered him. And he still has that attack buff going up. So I think Dokkan's system is a little... Yeah, okay, see, his attack didn't go up right there. So every turn is when he gets his you build up his attack. You build up his attack every turn, every time you hit him 5 times. So that's good to know. You know, trial and error there. I didn't really notice it. I just went in assuming that he had that already. Did we kill right here? CaiSamaX for the nuke? CaiSamaX for the nuke? CaiSamaX, man. That's why I went for the crit. I'll be honest. That's why my level 55%, I just gave him the level 5 crit orb. And I was like, you know what? I want him to do damage. If he's not going to tank as well or do as well in general at 55%, I might as well hope that crit goes off. And there you go. That crit went off. So with that stage done, all 3 missions, Rainbow Team and no items once again versus Metal Cooler. So let's move on to the next stage. Okay, so we're going to move on to the 5th stage, which is versus the Super Saiyan Goku. So for this fight, I had to switch up the teams for a couple of reasons. One, I ran out of 21 friends. 21 friends are hard to come by, even when you ask. Even when you ask people to change what they don't want to. So, we decided to just go ahead and rock with a Boo-Tank's friend, which is fine. Boo-Tank's is pretty good. We just unfortunately lose out on some 200%. I don't believe everyone on the team is 200%. I want to say everyone is, but it does mean we can't utilize Bulma. We can't utilize CaiSamaX, which CaiSamaX would have been kind of nice right here, in all honesty. Both CaiSamaX and Bulma would have been nice as STR units. But we ran out of friends, so we just kind of worked with it. But we also got the STR Fat Boo here, which, honestly, I don't like the STR Fat Boo. I really don't. I don't find him to be a fun or good unit. I think he's okay. I don't find him very reliable because he's very highly orb dependent. And it's not even a good orb dependence. Like, he needs, like, the whole field. He needs, like, the whole field. So, I mean, if you don't get a mandatory, I don't know, at least 8 to 10 orbs with him, I just don't feel like you're getting enough damage reduction from his passive. So, I mostly floated him off. He did go off a couple times, I will say that. But otherwise, he just didn't do very much in general, in my personal opinion. He was a body. He was just a body to throw onto the team. So, Kid Buu over here. I swear every time I bring Kid Buu into a fight, I start to wonder about his build. I think this might be where... Okay, yeah, so this is the one thing I will say about Fat Buu, is that, you know, he gets enough orbs, you get lucky with RNG, he'll potentially double, triple super, and that does add up, it does help out quite a bit, but it's still very RNG heavy, so... So on this turn, we already got through about almost a quarter of his health, roughly. You know, exchange Buu in slot 1. Pretty simple team now. Now that we are running Buu tanks instead of double 21, it's pretty simple and straightforward, I feel, with this team. We got tanks in slot 1, or at least buildable tanks. Buu tanks specifically as a tank can happen, as long as he builds up fast enough and you get lucky with some RNG from his passive and dodging. That and the guard. But yeah, Fat Buu 55% isn't that impressive on this stage. Let's see how well 21 does here. There's 1 super. There's 2 supers. So 21 doesn't do a lot of damage. The primary reason I went with crit was just because I wanted more crit. I wanted more damage. I felt like the damage was not needed, but you like to see the pose. You like to see the pose finish with 21 specifically. So I chose to put the friend Buu tanks in slot 1 because he already had built up instead of mine. Normally I trust my my unit more than the friend unit, but in this case, you know, built up is built up. So we got lucky with the 30% dodge chance. Very lucky. And friend unit pulling off the double. This is the part where it starts getting a lot slower. Ironically, like these last 2 stages of the memorable battle, movie edition, are very tanky. They're tanky, a little bit of gimmicky even on some fronts. I don't think Goku's overly difficult, but he does have like 2.1 million bloody supers. And he's got 600k normals, so that's pretty rough. But he also has like 20% damage reduction every time he receives a hit. And that damage reduction, man, oh boy. The damage reduction. I mean, you can see that the damage is just barely pushing through. I don't remember if this goes through or not. Yep, we dodged. We got super lucky and dodged right there. And I think that might be one of the only times he supers, too. But he also gets attack plus 10% with each turn passed. And I believe his defense actually goes down by 10% every turn passed. So he does get moderately easier. We did get very lucky with that dodge. Like I said, it was just purely out of his passive, which is a 30% chance of dodging. So I do work with that passive quite a bit. So right here, I didn't really know which one to put in front. No matter what, one of the Fat Boos had to go in front. As I said, I don't really like this STR Fat Buu. I feel he's very orb dependent. Even with these 5 right here, I think he only has like 42% damage reduction, which isn't very much, but he does have, technically he has guard. It's not really guard, it's just natural guard. So I didn't really trust him to be taking a 2.1 million super when his defense is hardly ever hitting a very high number. His defense just doesn't hit very high. And that's the problem I have with him. It's a problem I have with a lot of units that have damage reduction sometimes, is that a lot of these units with damage reduction don't usually have really high defense, and that's why they have such high damage reduction, which is understandable. But in the case of this Fabu right here, unless he triple supers, I have very, very little like hope that he could survive. And even with the triple super, I think it's still pretty skeptical. Which, ironically, right here, he does triple super, so I was not worried whatsoever at this point, specifically. You know, he triple super, damage reduction, type advantage. Yeah, but he still took 20k normal. And that's my point, that's my point. He had 2 extra orbs on top of his 3 orbs that he needs. And he still got hurt with a triple super. That's why I don't like STR Fabu. I just don't feel like he's very good. So... this is where I proceeded to transform 21, because Android 21. If it'll, I think I took my time to make sure I knew I was going to activate it. You have to for 21. And come on. Had to do it. Had to do it. Had to do it, man. I had to do it. So with 21 transformed, we have Big Bad Bosses activated on Buhan, and we have Kid Buu on rotation. It's set, man. It's set in stone. We won. We have won. Okay. And with Buhan, the only thing that sucked about transforming Buhan right there is, like, I knew we could win right here and right now. And that's why I chose to transform him. But he was not built up enough. He was not built up enough. He was built up decently, but he was not built up enough, unfortunately. We triple super right here. And we still can't knock out all of his bars. Which is fine. Which is fine. It's just... we quad super. Watch this. This is funny. I should have looked at this guy's build, because I don't think he had any crit built in. This is why crit is needed, by the way, folks. 4 quad super. And he still didn't crit. And the 21 pose. 21 pose. Gotta love it. I'm glad I at least got the pose on one of these bosses with 21. That was satisfying to me. That was satisfying. That was satisfying to get the pose off with 21. I never get that off enough with current state of the game. 21 can be rough to take along. And like I said, I primarily use her as a dodge tank, specifically in slot 3. And float her off usually with support, healing, etc. So, but with that, we will move on to the final stage. So the final stage, I actually had to take the time to record it on my phone and walk away. Like, I couldn't even pre-record it somewhat on my computer. So this is on my phone, and I had to record it in here. It was a pretty rough fight. I'm not gonna lie. It's a pretty long fight too. Broly is easily the hardest stage out of all of these fights. Broly is the hardest stage by far. And once again, we had no choice. We had to freaking use a Buu Tank's friend. We could not afford to go ahead and go in with double 21. And I still didn't have any more 21 friends left. So this is a pretty long fight right here. This is like a 10-minute fight. This is like 10 minutes. It's pretty rough. Pretty rough 10 minutes right here, because it's an RNG fest. It's pure RNG in some of these instances here, because Broly hits like a truck. I mean, you feel it. You definitely feel it. He's got 500k normals, 1.75 million super attacks, and his attack is raised if you had a Goku on your team. But I didn't bring Goku, so I mean, he's not buffed or debuffed. He's not buffed or debuffed at all, so that was the good thing. He's just got raw damage. He's very tanky. Takes a lot of damage, does a lot of damage. It's just something to remember when you're going into this fight. But yeah, we're not, you can't lower his attack, you can't lower his defense, you can't stun him, you can't seal him. All these other fights, you could do one of the few. You could lower attack, lower defense, something. Or they just didn't hit as hard. Broly just kind of is tanky. He's got a lot of health, does a lot of damage. And you're just sitting there, and sitting there, and sitting there, waiting, and pounding away at a brick wall. That's not an understatement whatsoever. And here comes the super. I don't even know how Boo Tanks freaking survived that. But thankfully we are running a partial Majin team. And we were able... apparently I had an alarm going off. But yeah, like it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. But yeah, I would say Exchange Boo is mandatory if you really wanted to go for this kind of similar team instance. You know, if you're having a rough time going at this fight, I don't think anybody should be having too rough of a time. But if I can do it with this team, you can probably do it with several other teams. I think Majin Power is also still a very strong enough team to kind of push through a lot of the new content in the game. Though I still say that STR Fat Boo here is very weak. I still think this guy is way too weak. How much damage did he take from a normal? Oh, he double digit. I don't know how he double digit. This is okay. How much damage is he gonna take here? Ooh, 340k, huh? See, I don't know how he took less damage right there than he did against Goku. Oh, it's an extreme type versus extreme super. Okay, so we took less damage because it was an extreme type enemy. Okay, okay. So yeah, STR Fat Boo wasn't too bad here. Not too bad. Not too bad. I was kind of scared putting Boo Tanks in slot 1. Because you're pretty much going off of the fact that you're gonna hope that 30% chance to dodge goes off. Because if it doesn't go off, you're pretty SOL. Notice we're still on the second health bar. We are still on the second health bar on turn 3. This is crazy. How many minutes is this? We're at 4 minutes. We're at 4 minutes. We're at 4 minutes. We're at 4. We're just slowly punching away at this guy's freaking brick wall of a freaking chest. That was like a level 2 crit, by the way. My Fat Boo right here is 55% only. So the fact that he even crit at all was astonishing. He's only level 2. So he only has a 4% chance to crit. That was pretty crazy. Alright, see how much damage 21 will do. Probably not a lot. She doesn't have type advantage. Whew. As you can see, it was kind of a handicap to bring her. Just a little bit. Just a little bit, which is fine. Just get to watch her work, that's all. Just get to watch 21 work. Triple super and all. You know, mine being at 55 to 100%, you know, 6 mil isn't too bad when you're, like, triple supering. That dodge tank roll right there, though. Dodge tank. Dodge tank, I'm telling you guys. Alright. So right here, we should be putting Evil Boo into slot 1. Yep. Evil Boo in slot 1. And just tanking. And this is pretty much the whole fight. This is pretty much the whole fight. Is just constantly sitting here, getting the tank in slot 1 to get hit, building up with Boo Tanks, and then praying to RNGesus that a super doesn't end up killing one of the weaker units. I was a little worried about Kid Boo. Kid Boo, like I said before, My build for Kid Buu is very poor. I don't suggest dodge for Kid Buu. I did in his how to build when he initially came out. And at this point, I would probably go back on it a little bit and say dodge is not a good idea. Because the amount of times that he's dodged and not built up. And that's a common problem, is that a lot of people think that if a unit dodges, they still build up part of their passive. It's not the case. At least with Kid Buu, it's not the case. There's been so many times where if he just doesn't get built up, you're just SOL. And a lot of times he dodges and he doesn't get built up. So, but in this case, he got built up still. And that was the reasoning in my head. I was like, okay, the odds of him dodging are pretty low. But, I mean, at 24 dodge, I'll be honest, Kid Buu has dodged more than a majority of the units in that I have. Like, he just dodges constantly. He really does. I think I stepped away from my phone at this point right here. But, yeah, the 21 build I'm fine with. Buuhan/Buu tanks, I would like to potentially change, and I might actually change him and make a new build for him. CaiSamaX, there's no reason to care if he's got crit or not at 55%. 55% CaiSamaX doesn't matter much. Exchange Buu probably does need to be a full dodge unit, but I like to have damage with him. I like the damage. The only time he gets free crit is when he's Super Buu. And I'll be real, I don't get to see Super Buu that much. And that's why I gave him the crit. That's why I gave Exchange Buu crit, because most of the time I don't actually get to see. I don't get to see Super Buu. And it's not always going to be the case. I'm going to be able to throw him into slot 1 and have like 2 rainbow orbs to actually give to him to have a good chance to crit. But that's always been like my headcanon way of using him, is that he's a slot 1 tank that can hurt. He's a slot 1 tank with some thorns. And this Fat Buu, I mean, he constantly was trying to make me feel better about using him throughout the entire time I tried. I think we tried to do this stage like 2 or 3 times. It took several attempts to do the Broly stage, I'm not gonna lie. But at least he took the normals. But every time he got hit with a Superman, it took out half our health, and I was just like, God dang it. But we're on Majin Power, so we got some heals. We got some heals that we can work with. So at this point, I had to make a really harsh decision on if I would transform 21 or not. I chose to transform Buu tanks because I felt like I really wanted to just do some more damage. I felt like his defense went up enough that it would be okay. The problem with 21 is that she loses her dodge chance, but she has additionals. She's got the additionals, and I think she has guard. Actually, I don't think she has guard. I think she has a little bit of damage reduction, but she can't really survive, you know, type disadvantage fights like this. Even if she had quad or penta supered, Broly's still going to have type advantage, and Broly's still going to do a crap ton of damage to her. Because of the type disadvantage, because of super versus extreme, 21 would still either get us killed or pretty close to being killed. But I really wanted to try and do some extra damage right here because we were below half health. And I felt like Buuhan got to a point where I could kill if he starts critting. And that's the thing. Once again, crit, guys. Crit. We want crit. Crit can actually get you through a fight. It's just a matter of the crit actually going off. So let's see how much damage we get out of here. Let's see how much damage. It really depends on if he crits. We got that crit. See how that crit went almost through an entire bar? That's why. That's why. That's why I chose to transform him. That's why I chose to just throw him into slot 1, because it was safer. And as long as he's getting those crits and additionals off, we could blow through a crap ton of his health right here. I knew we were going to get through a good amount of his health right here. I knew we were going to. We took about 2 bars down, 2.5 bars of his health down. And as long as the next turn goes pretty well, we should be okay. And this is the part I was really afraid of. I was deathly afraid of 21 getting hit with that super. Because once again, even if she had quad or penta supered, we still would have died or had taken such a frightening amount of damage that we would have died. So, yeah, with Kid Buu on this turn, Buhan, and of course, we just use the free Ghost Usher to make sure we'll be A-okay and doing a little bit of extra damage. That's game. I knew it was going to be game no matter what, so I just made sure that we were safe and put 21 in slot 2 on that previous turn. So yeah, I mean, he's tanky. He's a tanky dude. He's a tanky dude. But with the power of Majins, it looks easy. Anyways, it looks easy. It looks pretty easy. I don't know what made me put freaking after. I should have just put Kid Buu in slot 1. There was no reason not to put Kid Buu in slot 1 because we're just wasting time right now. But yeah, 15 mil right there, built up, supported. We might even one-shot him right here. Boom! Nice. Nice, good crit. Yep. And that is all of the stages with Android 21 and Majin Power. But that's all the stages with all the missions. Super fun. It was fun to rock that. I don't know if this will help anyone. I think this is pretty easy fight in all given honesty. These set of fights were pretty easy for the most part. But I just wanted to see if I could do it with with Android 21 on my team on every one of the fights. That's all I wanted to see. And then to collect all of these all at once. Super satisfying. Anyways, guys, let me know what teams you used to get all the missions done on here. And have a good day and a good night.